Hello everyone, thank you for joining us wherever you are. I'm Gulo from Jadi PNS, will be your host. Now we are with Hidayah Halid. She is a global landscape forum Oceans Restoration Stewards 2022 from Malaysia. Hello Hidayah, how are you?
Hello, hi everyone. So I'm doing good. Hope everyone is doing good too. Yeah, nice meeting you guys, and then thank you for having me here.
Yes, Hidayah, thank you so much again for joining us, and we are really excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm also excited to see what's coming for these sessions, and then yeah, hoping you guys are also enjoying the session.
Thank you. Hidayah, could you please give us a little bit of background on you?
Okay, so hello, my name is Hidayah Halid. So basically, I'm from Malaysia. So I've been working in marine conservation for Perhentian Marine Research Stations, or PMRS. And then the station is based in Perhentian Island, which is one of the Malaysia's tropical islands, in Terengganu, that has been gazetted as a marine park. So I've been here for 5 years so far. Then I started living on the island since 2019. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. And then when and where were you when you first realized you wanted to fight for marine ecosystem in Malaysia?
So I mean, it's a normal for a teenager. So when I was in my uni time, so I've been struggling finding out like where I'm gonna be end up in my career life, because my whole upbringing is always by nature, because my dad is a farmer. So basically my backyard is it's like green fields of paddy fields, and I always wondering where will I end up, somewhere that I'm comfortable as a home. And then, because I'm not a city person, so basically I was like, okay, so everyone's most likely is gonna end up working somewhere in the big cities, doing some of doing like a daily office jobs and so on. And then I couldn't see myself working there, because I always comfortable having nature by my side. And then it's throughout my study. So I did genetics biotech. So I studied biotech for genetic study. It's totally, most likely I would say, oh, I'm just going to end up in the lab, working with the specimens, working with the samples, without knowing that toward the ends of my study. So I took a risk, and then I jumped into marine biotech. So this I put up a little bit more towards the marine and how it works, because I like geography. So when there is subjects of geography, oceanography, so I do enjoy it, even though I have a trauma for the sea. So I don't really play on at the beach during my childhood, because there is a chance of me getting drownings and so on. So I almost likely gonna not try to stay away from the beach. But in 2015 or 2016,
Mhm.
um, my study required me to get scuba diving license. So, so I would just like, it's kind of like forcing myself to get. It's like it's not intentionally to get the scuba diving license,
Mhm.
but still I passed my certifications, and then I become a scuba diver since 2015. Ironically, is in Perhentian Island. So this is where everything started. So this island is where everything started. I start to fall in love with the oceans back, overcome trauma for the sea, and then falling in love with the ecosystems over here. So since then, I've been dreaming about coming back to the islands, coming back to um be on the islands again. And it took me 3 years to navigate myself. How can I end up working here? And then 2009, I came back serving the island until now. It's been like 5 years working on the island, serving the islands, monitoring the habitats around here and the coral ecosystem, seeing my fish friends, the sharks over here and the turtles over here. So I always I always acknowledge them as a friends whenever I go diving and then do some works down there. Basically, I would say I'm so lucky. I would say I have a green fields at home back in my hometowns, and then blue is my office. So yeah, that's how I start getting into this work field of work, and then I just realized that yeah, I like marine ecosystem is where I feel more comfortable, and then I'm happy to be back to my green field whenever I have time. So it's kind of like a balancing my blue concentrations of the blue during the work, and then whenever I go back to the hometown, I can detox my blue, and then I get the green, and then coming back to the office fresh, working together with my underwater office. So it's more like that.
Thank you. That's so inspiring, Hidayah. That's so inspiring. And before we talk about Perhentian Marine Research Station, I'm wondering how does it feel to be a female diver with your hijab?
So I mean, there is no um, it just seems normal. So there's no differences whether you are female divers or you are male diver. So basically, if you're a diver, when you are underwater, everyone's is the same. So wearing the hijab is never been an obstacle to enjoy the dance, and then so there is no limitation if you are female, even if female, and even more if you wearing the hijabs, there is no limitation at all doing those diving activities.
Thank you. And then now you're working in Perhentian Marine Research Station or PMRS under Fusei. Would you please explain what it is?
Okay, so for Perhentian Marine Research Station, PMRS, is a small-scale conservation stations on the islands that working on to overseas to monitor the reef ecosystems on the island. So it's kind of like organizations promoting the conservation activities, trying to gather the stakeholders around Perhentian to work on sustainably managing the resources that we have on the islands. And then it's been established in 2017
Mhm.
under a conservation-based social enterprise. So Fuse Equity basically a tourism operator, but with a vision of sustaining the natural resources on the island. So they, at the itself, the Fuse Equity established conservation projects on the islands, and then supporting our activities in a way it's tourism products, and then tourism profits coming through to the stations, and then we are able to run conservation action and activities such beach cleanups, our daily dives, visiting the dive sites around, doing the assessment just to see how the chorus is doing, and then weekly beach cleanups for the nesting beach. So we do have several nesting beach for the mama turtles,
Wow.
and then we are helping the moms getting clean beach for them to nest every season. So we are visiting those nesting beach every week, trying to remove all those trash and then marine debris deposited on the beach, so that it will be easily accessed by the moms to lay their eggs. And then the focuses of PMRS here is to monitor the health of the marine over here. So in Perhentian, we got coral reef, and then we got seagrass for the
Mhm.
turtles. So we are monitoring those ecosystems, and then aiming to combine the scientific finding from our assessments, our research with the cultural with the communities around here. I mean, like scientifically, everyone's will understand. I mean, in a scientific community, they will understand like a certain finding from the research, but we have to be a medium to create a medium where those findings and data can reach the community at their understanding, like their levels of understanding. So try to combine that, so having them to be on part of our efforts for the marine conservation. It's kind of like balancing. It kind of like PMRS become bridging the gap community and the culture. So we kind of like aiming to bridge them. Yeah.
Great works. And any other programs or projects that you are doing at Perhentian Marine Research Station?
So yeah, so like the programs that we are doing over here, mainly the habitat monitoring and protection. For example, the depth site assessment, survey, coral reef survey, health survey, and then monitoring the bleaching events, especially now the temperatures is quite high, the waters is warm, and the corals over here is much more susceptible to get bleached. So we are still monitoring that. And then we have our youth empowerment programs on the islands, which is Konak Pulau, the children of the islands, where we gatherings teams of young adults, which is a native islanders, to involve and actively joining our conservation efforts. So we kind of like providing the platforms for the kids over here, the youth in Perhentians, to understand the marine conservations and then participate protecting their homeland. And then another programs running here is a marine research project, which is this is to better understand the ecosystems of Perhentian Island, so that we are able to contributing in terms of the island management plans with the local agencies. And then lastly, and then we also have the Perhentian Free Map initiative. So this kind of like collectively gather the stakeholders around Perhentian who practicing eco-friendly businesses, such as maybe they providing free water refill, paid water refills, or maybe they providing like eco goods for like metal straws. So we will just kind of like gathering them in a map, so that map is accessible by the tourists, so they know where they can refill the waters instead of bringing the plastic bottles from the mainland because of the cost. Usually people will do that. It's much more cheaper bringing from the mainland compared to the island itself. So we try to put for them to water refill. You have to bring your refill with water bottles, and then have shops, the resorts around here will providing refill station. So just reducing the plastic usage on the islands. So there is a free plastic initiative. Then is the volunteering program. So the stations also open up a slot for publics to contribute with our conservation efforts, so they can sign ups and joins our volunteering program. So basically, most likely divers. So they kind of like it's a different dive from normal dive. So we do conservation dives. So we do reef cleanup dives, underwater cleanup. We do assessment, so like coral ID, fish ID. So they are learning about the ecosystem more compared to just a normal dive before. So it's kind of like a learning dive, experiential learning dive with the volunteers, and then hoping the message is there, and then they are able to understand the system more, and then they can spread more message to the public's audience. Yeah.
Hidayah, the programs that you already mentioned, it tries, to solve the marine ecosystem problems in Perhentian Island in Malaysia. Any other environmental issues that Perhentian Marine Research Station addresses?
Yeah, so there's two mains. The first one is ecosystem itself, like habitats monitoring, that health, the ecosystem health of underwater ecosystem. The second part is the waste management. Um, so like this island is, as we know, the island is like off it's quite far from the mainlands, and then there is no centralized management on the island itself. So everything's gonna bring back to the mainland to fill the landfill. And then there will be like a everyday pickup throughout the islands to bring the trash and rubbish and waste back to the mainland. So what we're doing here is just try to reduce in the plastic and then having them to practice recycling system, so that a parts of their parts of their waste, a part of their trash can be recycled. And then we work closely with the collectors that collecting the waste every day, so that so we kind of like separating the recyclable items into color coding plastic. So like the workers knows green color with yellow cable tie is recyclable item. So those plastic will be sent off to the recycling station, and then I would say like majorly is a general waste will be sent off to the mainland landfill, but at least a part of those all trash produced can be will be recycled. Because as we know, Long Beach, a small island, there is a very populated islands and happenings at night. So they have lots of cans of beers, and then so straw the like the dive shops, the resorts over here already started to reduce their plastic straw. So now it's more like freely drinking just from the cups or the mugs itself. So they're reducing their plastic straws, and then yeah, and then some of them also participate in providing a recycling point. So like the tourists, the staffs all over the beach can start putting in accordingly, and then the recycling system is happening in a way the recyclable items will be sent to the recycling station, recycling center over the mainland. So it's just like a small things that we try to having everyone's working on together, as the centralized waste management on the island is a little bit difficult to establish, because it's involved land usage and everything, and then the local agencies is working on that, but it's going to take time. It's understandable, the procedures, the policies, and so on. Instead, we start small. In a way, we try to have everyone collectively doing the effort, so it's going to contribute in a certain amount of recycling systems on the islands. Yeah.
You guys have done great things in the island, in Perhentian Island. And Hidayah, you mentioned about the Perhentian Island. Would you like to explain more about Perhentian Island? I mean, like how it looks like and where in Malaysia it's located.
Okay, so Perhentian Island is basically located on the east coast of Peninsula in the states of Terengganu, and then we are located in the far north of Terengganu state. So like neighboring Kelantan, and then quite near to the Thailand, Gulf of the Thailand. And logistically from the mainlands to the islands is gonna take 30 to 45 minutes with a speedboat. And then we have a daily commute. We can daily commute from the mainlands to the islands, and then islands to the mainlands throughout the day. And then Perhentian itself, it has two main islands, which is Perhentian Besar, the big island. Yeah. And then Perhentian Kecil is a small island. It is neighboring, staying next to each other. It is 5 minutes boat to across the channels to get to the next island. And then we have 5 more small uninhabited islands offshore from the Perhentian. So it's a dive site, kind of like dive site islands, but no one is living there. So the some of people's call is archipelagos of Perhentian, because in total we got 7 islands. So 2 main big islands, and then 5 small isolated islands off coast the Perhentian itself. So it's kind of like archipelagos of Perhentian. And then logistically over here is really accessible. So we have water taxi. It's kind of like we have a taxi grab, kind of like a island style. So we have a taxi services, water taxi services, just to move from one place to another place of the island. And then small island is kind of like backpacking style, with a lot of dive shops. They're offering of services for dive certifications, fun diving, and then accommodations like much more cheaper compared to the big island, is more resort oriented, which is much more calm, easy day. It's a vacation kind of setting up uh for that big island. Yeah, it's a family. It's very suitable for the family to
Mhm.
come and then have a small holiday with the rest of the family members for the big island.
Wow, amazing. So out of 7 islands,
Mhm.
which island is Perhentian Marine Research Station headquarter building is located?
Okay, so we are located in the small islands, like
Mhm.
this small island, Perhentian Kecil, and then we located within the village of itself. So we settle down with the communities over here so that we are able to blend in with them, having the interactions and then understand the insights of local community here. Just because like for me, the biggest my biggest troops is basically the villages here. So for them to understand our conservation work, we have to blend in, we have to live with them so
Mhm.
that we can build up the relationship on the trust based relationship. So they are respecting our works, we are respecting their livelihood. So now we are in that phase already. So everyone's know PMRS, everyone know us. Everyone's kind of like, oh, Hidayah is here, don't feed the fish. So we up to that levels of relationships where people's are understanding your lines of work, like trying to observing the coral, protecting the coral, so that everyone's have the opportunity to sustain the resources longer, and then as they also benefits from the ecosystems over here. So yeah, this is where we are located, in the middle of the village.
That's so interesting. And then, yeah, as a station manager at PMRS, how do you run the current or incoming programs in Perhentian Island?
Okay, so my station is basically powered by 3 full-time staff and then the interns. So the crew are trained to coordinate the programs running. So basically, like me myself, I will focusing on overseeing the stations, how it's been run, and then who's gonna running the programs, who's in charging, and then the contents of the program itself. And then I have my assistant helping up just to get the schedules runnings every day. And then I have my dive master in-house, which responsible more on the diving activities, the safety of our volunteers, the safeties of the staff during diving. So basically, he's my captain on the boat. And then I have interns, which is the internship programs we open up to the local, to Malaysians or international, who wants to help us running the station. So, and then each of them most likely, so my style is that each of them they're gonna have their own um projects that they've been running. For example, my volunteer coordinator, they will have he or he will be responsible to coordinating the volunteering program. And then I have a waste management and marine resource coordinator. So they are basically in charging of our waste activities. Um, and then the initiatives regarding to the waste and resources on the island. So and then yeah, and then I have like a intern for social media so that the engagements with the public's audience is happenings all the time. So it's kind of like it's a full spec of a team that I have on the islands running the station, and then everyone as there was one responsible for the 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 projects according to the job scope. For me, I was like, this is your baby. This you own the position, you own the roles. So if you have something else to initiate, it is such a nice point that is always open up into improvement. PMRS is for me myself as a manager, I looking up into improvements of the programs of the projects that has been established, because everyone comes with their own uniqueness, their own strength, their own way of doing things, which is probably my way of organizing is a bit complicated, and then they can simplify it into something else, and then providing more significant input. And I will just like, okay, I will just adopt it. And then this will be my intern's legacy, so my crew legacy. I basically on the stations I didn't claim. I cannot claim much because like everyone is contributing, and then it's their work, it's their legacy. So I'm continuing for the next coming year. Is there any improvement? We can improve. If not, we will just maintain the system. So that's how it works. So like the first thing first is establishing the system. And from the system itself, we can start running the activities. Yeah, that's how I kind of like navigating and managing the station.
And how many people working at the station, Hidayah?
So far, I have 5 with me. 3 full-time staff, and then 2 interns. But our maximum capacity, so usually we have 2 intakes every year. First half of the season and then second half of the season. So like the maximum capacity for the staffing, the crew is 7. Yeah.
And then you were in the list of Global Landscape Forum Oceans Restoration Stewards 2022. Congrats, Hidayah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what do you get as the restoration stewards?
Okay, as a restoration steward, my first so I'm so happy to be part of the Oceans Restoration Steward 2022. I learned so much. I earned so much. So it's a community. It's a networking. So I so happy. I'm so gladly to be part of the Restoration Steward. And then the takeaway from that is a networking and a platform. So my vision is always to broadcasting Perhentian Islands beyond Perhentian. So I mean, like Perhentian is known for tourist destinations, internationally well known because of the pristine water, clear water, nice ecosystem. And then my vision is for Perhentian to be known for its marine conservation efforts too. So apart from people's coming here for just bluntly or purely for the touristic activities, at least they are in the know, like we have conservation efforts on the islands, and then they can contribute to the conservation activities even though they are not joining us. But what we do offer a programs like citizen science program. They can just do contributing while doing their diving activities. So I want them to know there is a platform for them as a normal tourist to be part of. So that's why I would say Global Restoration Steward providing me a networkings and a platforms where I can keep publishing about Perhentians, about the efforts over here, what they can do when they come to Perhentian. So that is the main biggest takeaway from the programs, for restoration programs. And then the second is the personal development. So like throughout the program with GLF, so there is a engagement session, there is a mentorship session, there is the learning session, workshops, and so on. So it's kind of like sometimes when I been here quite long time, so we tend to like, okay, focusing on the work instead of developing our own capacity building. We're focusing on building up someone else just to joining us instead of us building up our capacity to be better in our level now. So being part of the program, which is restoration program, they guiding me. They kind of like, okay, they're putting me up into a certain timelines and then program that I have to join as a part of the restoration steward. So that is a personal development training for me. So I learn more with my mentors. I have been in got the more stories from other stewards, and then the lastly is the inspiration. So knowing the communities of restoration steward, somehow it's kind of like lifting up my motivation just to do, because if people can do, why not Perhentian? So I always say something like that. So like I need the inspiration because for me, I would say conservation world somehow is a little bit depressing in a way. There is no black and white. We can't really say yes to certain parts and then bluntly say no on a certain aspect. So it's always a gray area. Because we try to protect the environments while protecting the peoples within the environment. So it's always a negotiations, just to see how things gonna work this way. If not, maybe we have to change our way. So sometimes I got stuck. Not sometimes, most of the time I got stuck. It's either I cannot upscale my initiative, or there is a limitations in a way, uh engagement, and then acceptance from the public and so on. The stakeholders is not giving, um uh it's not, how do I say, the stakeholders around here is not very welcoming of the initiative, so I got stuck here and there. But continuous inspiration is much more needed in conservation. So I'm so happy to meet the other people from the restoration steward program. So I'm treasuring those three main takeaway from the program last year.
Awesome, Hidayah. And then how do you tell your community and youth around you to restore the marine ecosystem in Perhentian Island?
So like the main target, like how we do it here, is engaging them, inviting them to be on board, so that having them on board, making them understand. It's not like I don't really say like, so you have to see this is the impact of what you guys doing. No. So I just bringing them divings, and then see the beauty of their homeland. So like exploring the beauty of their homeland, knowing the value of their homelands. And then will be another day that we are on the ghost net removal dive. So we're trying to remove the stranded fishing nets on the corals, and then they can see the damage is done onto the corals, how it's gonna break the corals, how it's gonna clamping, and then got the animal stuck over there. So somehow it's kind of like it's a learning process from them. It's not the station pushing, it's not PMRS pushing the ideas of like there's a destructive activities that has been happening here, but having them experiencing those feelings on their own will bring them more realizations on how they should protect their homeland. And then that's why I was like, for the communities and the youth around here, my approach is engaging them with our activities. That's why we create Anak Pulau program. So that is the platform for them. So to be certified as a scuba diver, exploring their ecosystems over here. And then and then they are actually parts of the rapid response team, which is whenever we got reports coming from the stakeholders, or anything's coming, like any threats onto the dive site. So we're gonna dive over there and then remove the threat, especially the stranded ghost net fishing nets coming from the open sea, stranded onto the coral. So their participations in those activities, and having them chit-chatting among their colleagues, their friends, the circles of the friends has more, the message is more strength. So it's more stronger compared to me saying to the communities over here. So like their message has more weight there compared to me saying to the community. So that's why the engagement with them involving with us is super important.
That's inspiring, Hidayah, how you engage your community. And then, in your own perspective, how can young people in Malaysia or globally can restore the marine ecosystem?
Okay, so first one, you have to know the ecosystem itself. So like start exploring, if there is limitations about getting into the field, getting to the island. For me, I started with everyone's know National Geography. So I started myself watching National Geography. So I really like nature documentary. So it's my favorites when I was young. Then my mom's really pushing me to watch National Geography. So it start developing the empathy. So we will start seeing like, oh, this is very nice. So this is ecosystem, and then marine ecosystem. I will say, just imagine the coral reef area as a city. Sometimes I'll look at it as a city. So all the corals is like like a blocks of buildings, and then the fish is over there, uh running, commutings in between. Probably they're going to work, going to find some foods, and then there's maybe there's like a big animals coming in. It's like a sudden visitors to the city block. So I always imagine things like that when I diving. So whenever we are if we have the chance to see the National Geography documentary far from the marine ecosystem, we are able to see how beautiful it is underwater, and then we always have the why questions in ourselves. Why this is happening? Why, what is coral? Why? Keep having that why, and then eventually we will start educating ourselves with the ecosystem. And then we can start searching, what is coral? What is this fish? And then what are the fish that we've been eating? And those is going on. And then from there, we're going to create interest and then awareness on the marine ecosystem. So I would say, like, not everyone has the privilege to be on the islands and then exploring the underwater ecosystem, but everyone has the opportunity to learn themselves about the ecosystem, to have to educate themselves about marines, and then bring the awareness to everyone. And then the second part is participating locally, which is even though you are in the city area, obviously there will be a conservation projects, green projects, maybe not conservation, but maybe green projects at the city, maybe less like urban jungle, something like that's like birding. You can obviously joining in the park. So like start pondering upon our own environments and then start locally. So maybe you can do some beach clean and some cleanup, just picking up the cleanups, and make sure to measure your achievements every time. For example, if you're doing a cleanup, so this week maybe you grab 1 kilos of trash around the park, but how much is you going to do next? And then if we keep monitoring our progress, we can really see the changes that we've been doing. And then the another small things that we can do is keep the straws. You can see like every day how much straws that we skip, and then collectively in a week you will see the numbers, and then obviously in the months you will see your numbers, and then a year, and then you will realize this is how much straws that I have saved from getting into the mainland, or most likely getting into the water columns, like the drainage area that gonna end up in the sea, and then helping the turtle. So like it's a continuous chain. It's not necessarily you have to be on the islands to save the marine ecosystem, but it started with a small step coming from the city lifestyle, even though the mainland. So it started from there. For us who has the privilege to be on the islands, we can do active, like direct conservation efforts on the islands. But actually it's not only me and my stations and then people's on the island that's saving the oceans. Is everyone is saving the oceans. Everyone can contribute in their own way. So start participating locally. Find something else around your area that you can contribute to. Start monitoring your progress. Get your statistic, and then I believe within a month or maybe within 6 months, you will get your number, and then you're going to be proud of your number. So that is your achievement. That is your ownerships that you can proudly saying, I have saved, I have done this, and then this is my number. So yeah. And then lastly, for the young peoples to join the conservation, the main recipe is passion and passion. I mean, you have to have a patience in after you know the ecosystem, you start observing and then participating. I'm hoping that the passion will be there. So you're gonna very passionate about the environment itself, and then be patient. So like to see the changes in the environment is quite a long way to go. It takes some time just to see the changes, but if we pay attention to the small changes, it's actually an achievement. So don't I mean, like I always say, go locally, and then don't pushing yourself to save the world. It's a collective efforts with amongst every single human being on the earth to save the world. start locally, monitoring your progress, and then find your passions in what kinds of environmental issues you are passionate about, and then be patient and then persistence in that pathway.
Thank you, Hidayah. Hidayah, last but not least, what's your future goals in restoring marine ecosystem and community-based conservation?
So my future goals, so my dreams is the marine ecosystem will be sustainably managed at every level of the stakeholders. So it's not necessarily have to come from a bottom top approach or top bottom approach. Like, because like if you really are looking up into top bottom approach, so it's like policing peoples with the rules and regulations and then forcing peoples to do that. If we are able to manage the marine ecosystem by every levels of the stakeholders, so everyone's know their responsibility, everyone's know their limits in utilizing the resources, it can be sustainably managed. We can prolong our ecosystem, and then everyone's can benefit from there. And then for the community-based conservation is basically my dreams is for this community within the ecosystem be able to become a voice to protect their homeland. So like this is their home. So this is their whole life. And then the community should be able to voice their rights, and they should protect too their homeland. So I mean like they become the voice of their homeland. So instead of someone else coming in telling them, oh, you have to save the corals, I will be very happy if the villagers here was like, so this is our coral. Please don't please help us to protect them too. So yeah, so that is my vision for community-based conservation.
Thank you so much, Hidayah, for your inspiring story. Thank you.
So thank you for having us for allowing me to share my insights of marine conservation in Perhentian.
Yeah, again, thank you so much, Hidayah, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let's collaborate to make this world into a better place. I'm Gulo from Jadi PNS. Thank you and see you again.
Thank you, everyone. See you guys.